I honestly never thought I'd be the type of person to write one of these posts, but here I am at 3 in the morning unable to sleep because of what I'm about to do tomorrow, and I need to tell someone about it, even if it's just random strangers on the internet. My cousin Marcus destroyed my reputation, my relationships, and nearly my entire life while I was literally unable to get out of bed to defend myself, and all of it started because I refused to give him $50 goddamn dollars. $50. That's what my dignity and my family's respect was apparently worth to him. But after 6 months of planning and waiting and gathering evidence, tomorrow I'm going to return the favor in a way that's going to absolutely ruin him, and I'm not even sure I feel bad about it anymore. Let me back up and give you the full story, because it's honestly insane how something so small spiraled into this absolute nightmare. Marcus and I grew up together, like closer than most siblings close. Our moms are sisters and we lived 2 houses apart our entire childhood, so we were basically attached at the hip from the time we could walk. We went to the same schools, played on the same sports teams, had the same friend groups, the whole deal. Everyone always called us the twins, even though we're actually 9 months apart and look nothing alike. I'm tall and blonde, he's short and dark-haired, but whatever, the nickname stuck. The point is, we were best friends for literally 25 years, and I trusted him more than almost anyone in my life. Marcus was always the charismatic one, the one who could talk his way into or out of anything, the one everyone loved at parties. I was more the responsible one, the one who had a steady job and paid my bills on time and didn't blow my entire paycheck at the casino every other weekend. Not that I'm trying to sound superior or anything, we just had different personalities and it worked. He'd get us into adventures and I'd make sure we didn't end up in jail or dead. It was a good system for a long time. The problem started about 2 years ago when Marcus got really into sports betting. At first it was just small stuff, $20 here and there on football games, whatever. But it got bad fast. Like really bad. He started asking to borrow money constantly, always swearing he'd pay me back next week when his sure thing came through. I lent him money a bunch of times at first because that's what family does, right? But he never paid me back. Not once. And I'm not talking about small amounts either, I'm talking about I lent him probably $3,000 over the course of 8 months and never saw a penny of it returned. Finally last March I put my foot down. He called me up on a Tuesday night, I remember it was a Tuesday because I'd just gotten home from my second job, and he went into this whole sob story about how he needed $200 for his electric bill or they were going to shut off his power. I was exhausted and honestly just done with his bullshit at that point, so I said no. He kept pushing, getting more and more desperate, and I kept saying no. Then he tried to guilt trip me with, I thought we were family, and I'd do it for you, and all that manipulation crap, and I told him that family doesn't mean being an ATM machine and maybe he should consider stopping the gambling if he can't pay his bills. He got pissed, like really pissed, and said some nasty things about how I'd always thought I was better than him and how I was a selfish asshole who cared more about money than family. I hung up on him and we didn't talk for like 3 weeks. Eventually he apologized, sort of, one of those non-apology apologies where he was like, I'm sorry you felt disrespected but I was just stressed, and I accepted it because again, family, and I figured maybe this was the wake-up call he needed to get his shit together. Things were weird between us after that, but we were still talking, still seeing each other at family stuff. Then in July everything went to complete hell. I got into a car accident, not my fault. Some drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned me on the passenger side. I was lucky to be alive honestly, but I ended up with a shattered pelvis, 3 broken ribs, a fractured arm, and a severe concussion. The doctors said I'd need at least 3 months of bed rest and then months of physical therapy after that. I couldn't work, couldn't drive, couldn't even get up to use the bathroom by myself for the first month. It was the most helpless I've ever felt in my entire life. My parents live in Florida now, they retired there like 5 years ago, so they couldn't just drop everything and come take care of me for months. My girlfriend at the time, Jessica, she tried to help at first but she had her own job and her own life, and after about 2 weeks of playing nurse she basically said she couldn't handle it anymore and broke up with me. Can't say I totally blame her, it was a lot, but it still sucked. So I was basically alone in my apartment, dependent on a home health aide who came twice a day and whatever help I could get from friends and family who were willing to stop by. Marcus came to visit me in the hospital right after the accident. He seemed genuinely worried, brought me magazines and snacks, stayed for a few hours. He even offered to help out once I got home, said he'd stop by and check on me, bring me groceries, whatever I needed. I was touched honestly, thought maybe the accident had put things in perspective for both of us and we could get back to how things used to be. I got released from the hospital after a week and went home to my apartment. The first few days were brutal, just trying to manage the pain and the boredom and the frustration of not being able to do anything for myself. Marcus texted me a couple times asking how I was doing, and I told him I was managing but it was rough. Then on day 5 he showed up at my door unannounced. I heard the knock and yelled for whoever it was to come in since I couldn't exactly get up and answer it. Marcus walked in looking kind of jittery and nervous, which should have been my first red flag. He did the whole concerned cousin routine for like 5 minutes, asking about my pain levels and if I needed anything, and then he got to the real reason he was there. "Hey man, I hate to ask, but I'm in a really tight spot right now," he said, and I swear to God I felt my stomach drop because I knew exactly where this was going. "I just need to borrow $50 until Friday. I've got this thing, this opportunity, and I just need a little capital to make it work. I'll pay you back with interest, I swear." I just stared at him. I was lying in my bed, literally unable to walk, on so many pain medications I could barely think straight, dealing with the fact that my entire life had just been turned upside down and I was going to be out of work for months, and he was asking me for money. Again. "Marcus, I can't right now," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "I'm not working, I don't know when I'll be able to work again, my savings are going to have to cover my rent and bills for God knows how long. I just can't." His face changed. Like completely changed. The fake concern disappeared and was replaced with this cold anger that I'd never really seen directed at me before. "Are you fucking kidding me right now? It's $50, Ryan. 50. You're seriously going to say no over $50? "It's not about the amount," I said, and I was starting to get upset now too because the audacity of this was just incredible. "It's about the fact that you still owe me $3,000 and you've never paid back a single loan I've ever given you. And I'm literally bedridden right now, I need every dollar I have." "Wow," he said, and he actually laughed but it wasn't a friendly laugh. "I should have known. You're always the same, always keeping score, always acting like you're so much better than everyone else. I come here to help you out and you can't even spare $50 for family. You came here to ask me for money." I said, and I was getting really angry now despite the pain medication fog. "You didn't come to help, you came because you thought I'd be vulnerable enough to say yes." He stood up and I could see his hands were shaking. "You know what? Fuck you, Ryan. I'm done. I'm done trying to maintain a relationship with someone who clearly only cares about money. Don't call me, don't text me, we're done." And he walked out, slamming the door so hard that some pictures fell off my wall. I just lay there in shock, hurting from the physical pain and now this emotional pain on top of it, and I couldn't even process what had just happened. Part of me felt guilty, like maybe I should have just given him the $50 to keep the peace. But the rational part of me knew that was insane, that he was completely out of line, that his gambling addiction wasn't my responsibility. I didn't hear from him for a few days after that. I texted him once to try to smooth things over, saying we could talk when we were both calmer, but he left me on read. Then my aunt, Marcus's mom, called me. This was about a week after the blow-up. "Ryan honey, I'm so sorry about what you're going through with your recovery," she said, which was nice, normal aunt stuff. Then her tone changed. "But I have to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me. Did you really tell Marcus that he was worthless and that our whole side of the family were losers who would never amount to anything?" I literally could not believe what I was hearing. "What? No. Aunt Linda, I never said anything like that, where did you hear that?" "Marcus told me," she said, and she sounded hurt and disappointed. He said you two got into an argument and you said some really hurtful things about him and about our family. He was really upset, Ryan. I know you're going through a lot, but that's no excuse to be cruel. I tried to explain what really happened, that Marcus had come to ask for money and got angry when I said no, but I could tell she didn't fully believe me. She did that thing where she was like, okay, well, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, but in that tone that suggested she thought I was lying or at least exaggerating. We ended the call and I felt sick to my stomach. Over the next few weeks, I started realizing that Marcus was telling everyone in our family his version of events. My uncle called to tell me I should apologize. My cousin Sarah texted me saying she was disappointed in me. My grandmother, who I love more than almost anyone, left me a voicemail saying she raised me better than to look down on family. And every time I tried to explain the truth, that Marcus was lying and all I'd done was refuse to lend him money, I could tell people thought I was just making excuses. The worst part was I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't drive over to family dinners to defend myself in person. I couldn't show up at Marcus's house and confront him. I was stuck in bed, dependent on other people, while my cousin was systematically destroying my reputation with lie after lie. And he knew it. He knew I was helpless to stop him. But it got so much worse. Marcus didn't just tell people I'd insulted the family. He started making up elaborate stories about things I'd supposedly done. He told people that I'd been stealing from my elderly neighbors before the accident. He told people that I'd cheated on Jessica and that's why she really left. He told people that I was faking the extent of my injuries to get sympathy and workers' comp money I wasn't entitled to. And people believed him because Marcus has always been charming, always been good at telling stories, and I was just the boring responsible cousin who wasn't around to defend himself. My phone started going off constantly with angry messages from family members and old friends. Someone slashed my tires while my car was parked outside my apartment building. Someone egged my windows. A couple people I'd been friends with since high school blocked me on all social media. It was like I was being erased from my own life and there was nothing I could do about it. The absolute lowest point came about 2 months into my recovery. I was finally able to get around a little bit with a walker, still in constant pain but at least mobile. I decided to try to go to my grandmother's birthday party because I thought if I could just talk to people face to face, explain what really happened, maybe I could start fixing this. My mom flew up from Florida for the party too, and I thought having her there would help. I got to my grandmother's house, struggled up the front steps with my walker, and knocked on the door. Marcus answered. We just stared at each other for a second, and I could see this little smirk on his face like he knew exactly what was about to happen. I don't think you should be here, he said loudly, loud enough that people inside could hear. It's Grandma's birthday, I said. I'm not missing it. After everything you've said about this family, after the way you've treated people, you've got some nerve showing up here. My mom appeared behind him. Marcus, let him in, he's my son and it's my mother's birthday. But then my uncle came to the door too, and my aunt, and suddenly there were like 6 people crowded in the doorway and they were all looking at me like I was some kind of villain. My grandmother came to see what the commotion was and when she saw me her face just fell. Ryan, I think it would be best if you left, she said quietly, and hearing that from her just broke something in me. Grandma, please, Marcus has been lying about me, I said, and I was starting to cry now, which was humiliating. I never said those things, I never did any of that stuff, he's making it all up because I wouldn't lend him money. Don't you dare, Marcus said, and he had the audacity to sound offended. Don't you dare try to make me the bad guy here. Everyone knows the truth about you now. I looked around at all these faces, people who had known me my entire life, and they were all looking at me with suspicion or disappointment or anger. My own mother looked uncertain, like she didn't know who to believe. That's when I realized I'd lost. Marcus had won. He'd turned everyone against me and there was nothing I could say in that moment that would change their minds. I left without another word and cried the entire drive home. I was in so much pain, both physical and emotional, that I seriously considered just giving up on everything. What was the point of recovering if I had no family left to recover for? But then something happened that changed everything. About a week after the birthday party disaster, I got a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know. Her name was Brittany and her profile picture showed her with Marcus. The message said, "I think we should talk about Marcus. Call me." She included her number. I called her immediately, and what she told me made everything click into place. Brittany was Marcus's girlfriend, or she had been until recently. They'd been dating for 8 months and she'd just broken up with him after discovering the extent of his gambling problem. But more importantly, she'd heard him on the phone multiple times talking about me, planning what lies he was going to tell next, laughing about how easy it was to turn everyone against me. "He's obsessed with ruining you," she told me. I asked him why and he said it was because you embarrassed him, because you made him feel small by refusing to help him. He said you needed to be taught a lesson about family loyalty. It creeped me out honestly, how much he talked about it. That's part of why I left. She agreed to meet me and tell me everything she knew. Over coffee the next day, she laid out the full extent of Marcus's lies. She had screenshots of texts where he'd bragged to friends about making up stories. She had recordings of him on the phone, she'd been recording arguments they'd had and he'd mentioned me in several of them. She said she felt guilty for not coming forward sooner but she'd been afraid of him, afraid of what he'd do if she betrayed him. "He's not a good person, Ryan," she said. "I know you grew up with him and you think you know him, but he's really not. He's manipulative and vindictive and he doesn't care who he hurts as long as he gets what he wants." I took all the evidence Brittany gave me and I sat on it. I know that sounds crazy but hear me out. I was still recovering, still in physical therapy, still trying to get my life back together. And I realized that if I just showed everyone the evidence right then, sure, they'd know Marcus lied, but he'd just play the victim somehow. He'd say Brittany was a crazy ex. He'd say I'd manipulated her. He'd find some way to twist it because that's what he does. So I decided to wait. I decided to let Marcus think he'd won. I let him think I'd given up and accepted my new role as the family pariah. I stopped trying to defend myself. I stopped going to family events. I just focused on my recovery and on building my case. Because here's the thing, when you've lost everything and you have nothing but time, you can get really creative with revenge. I hired a private investigator with some of my savings, which I know sounds extreme but I was beyond caring at that point. The PI followed Marcus for 3 weeks and documented everything. Every casino he went to, every sports bar, every bookie he met with. Turns out Marcus's gambling problem had gotten even worse than I thought. He was into some pretty serious people for pretty serious money, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. I also started documenting every lie Marcus had told and cross-referencing it with the truth. Every time someone told me about something Marcus had said I did, I found proof that I hadn't done it. The stealing from neighbors. I got doorbell camera footage from those neighbors showing I'd never been near their houses during the times Marcus said I had. The cheating on Jessica. I got Jessica to write a statement about why we really broke up. The faking injuries thing. I got all my medical records and doctor's statements. Then I did something that I'm particularly proud of. I created a website. A very detailed, very thorough website laying out everything Marcus had done. Every lie, every piece of evidence that it was a lie, every screenshot from Brittany, every photo from the PI showing his gambling, everything. I didn't publish it yet, just built it and got it ready. I also made sure that the website would show up first if anyone Googled Marcus's name. I paid for the SEO optimization and everything. I spent the past 3 months just gathering more and more evidence, making my case airtight. I reconnected with Brittany and she introduced me to 2 other women Marcus had dated who had similar stories about his manipulation and lying. I found old acquaintances of his who he'd screwed over. I built a complete picture of who Marcus really was, not the charming cousin everyone thought they knew. And tomorrow I'm launching the website. But that's not all. Tomorrow is also Thanksgiving, and my entire family is getting together at my aunt's house, Marcus's house, for dinner. Every single family member who believed his lies and turned their backs on me will be there. And they're all going to get an email at exactly noon tomorrow, right when they're sitting down to dinner. An email with a link to the website and a simple message: I think it's time you all knew the truth about Marcus. I also sent all the evidence of Marcus's gambling debts to the people he owes money to, anonymously of course, with information about where he'll be tomorrow. I'm not saying anything's going to happen, but I imagine some collectors might be interested in knowing they can find him at a family dinner where he can't hide. And finally, I sent everything to my grandmother personally, in a handwritten letter that she should receive tomorrow morning. Just her, because she's the one whose disappointment hurt the most and she's the one I want to understand the truth more than anyone. I've been done with my physical therapy for a month now. I'm walking fine, I'm back at work, I've rebuilt my life without any of them. And honestly, I don't even know if I want them back in my life after this. Maybe I'm just doing this for closure, to prove that I was right and Marcus was wrong. Or maybe I'm doing it because I'm vindictive and angry and I want to watch him suffer the way he made me suffer. The website goes live in 9 hours. The emails send in 12 hours. By tomorrow night, everyone Marcus has manipulated will know exactly what he did and exactly what kind of person he really is. His reputation will be destroyed. The family will turn on him the way they turned on me. And those people he owes money to, well, I imagine that's going to be a whole other problem for him. I keep asking myself if I should feel guilty about this, if I'm going too far, if I'm stooping to his level. But then I remember lying in that hospital bed with a shattered pelvis while he asked me for $50. I remember being called a liar by my own grandmother. I remember missing months of my life, months of family memories, because he decided to destroy me over pocket change. So no, I don't feel guilty. I feel like tomorrow is going to be the first day in 6 months where I can finally breathe again. The only thing giving me pause is I just got a text from my mom about an hour ago. Ryan, I need to tell you something about tomorrow. Marcus has been planning something. He told your aunt he has proof that you've been, and then the message just cuts off. She hasn't responded to my follow-up texts. What could Marcus possibly have? What kind of proof? Has he somehow found out what I'm planning? Is he planning some kind of countermove? I guess I'll find out tomorrow. Either way, it's too late to stop now. The website's ready. The emails are scheduled. The evidence has been sent. Tomorrow, one of us is going down. And I've spent 6 months making sure it won't be me.